What if I told you that on the most important day of Emma's life, the people who should have supported her the most abandoned her completely? Emma worked for years, saved every penny, planned every detail to achieve her biggest dream. But when the moment finally came to celebrate her achievement, she discovered the devastating truth about her own family that changed her life forever. What happened after that day transformed Emma from an invisible person into someone no one could ever ignore again. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever worked hard to achieve something important, only to discover that the people you love most don't care about your dreams? The story you're going to hear today is about Emma, a woman who lived her entire life being the forgotten daughter, the sister who always stayed in the background. While growing up, Emma watched her entire family mobilize to solve the problems of Tyler, her younger brother. It didn't matter how many times he got fired or how many excuses he made, Tyler was always the favorite, always received all the attention and care. Emma? Emma was just the responsible daughter, the one who never caused trouble, who always figured things out on her own. But Emma had a secret dream. A dream she nourished for years, working in silence, saving every penny, planning every detail. She wanted to open her own bakery. She wanted to prove to herself and to her family that she was capable of something extraordinary. What Emma never imagined was that on the most important day of her life, when she finally achieved her dream, she would discover a devastating truth about her own family. A truth that would change everything. A truth that would force her to make the most difficult decision of her life. This is a story about family rejection, about having the courage to fight for your dreams even when no one believes in you. It's about discovering that sometimes the people we love most are the ones who hurt us the most. But most importantly, it's about the incredible strength we find when we decide not to give up on ourselves. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, what city and country are you watching us from? I love knowing who's following our stories around the world. It was a typical Tuesday at the family home when Tyler came home at 2 in the afternoon. Emma, who had taken the day off from work, was in the kitchen preparing her lunch when she heard the door slam shut. The heavy sound of his footsteps said it all. Emma didn't need to ask to know what had happened. Tyler had been fired. Again. "Tyler, son, you're home early today," Patricia said, appearing in the living room with that voice full of maternal concern. Tyler threw himself on the couch with a dramatic sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world. "They fired me. Mom," he said, running his hands through his hair. "That idiot boss didn't know how to recognize my potential." Emma stopped eating, watching the familiar scene unfold. It was always the same story. Tyler was never to blame for anything. It was always the boss being too demanding, co-workers who didn't like him, or the work environment being toxic. Patricia immediately sat next to Tyler, placing her hand on his shoulder. "It wasn't your fault, my love. These bosses nowadays don't know what a good employee is." Emma finished her lunch in silence, washed her plate, and went upstairs to her room to rest a bit. As always, she was invisible during Tyler's drama. That late afternoon, Emma came downstairs to help Patricia with dinner preparations. She found Tyler in exactly the same spot on the couch, playing on his phone. Patricia was in the kitchen preparing dinner, humming softly as if nothing had happened. It was impressive how quickly the family adapted to Tyler's crises. When William arrived from work, Patricia immediately ran to tell him what had happened. "Our Tyler was fired today, dear. That terrible boss didn't know how to value our son." William sighed, loosening his tie. It was Tyler's third firing that year, and Emma could see the tiredness in her father's eyes, even though he never showed it openly. During dinner, Tyler told his version of the story. "The guy was a complete control freak, Dad. He kept nagging me about schedules. If I arrived a few minutes late, he'd get stressed. And he fired me just because I said I'd need to leave early on Friday to handle some things." Emma ate in silence, knowing that Tyler was omitting important details. He probably arrived late constantly, or had serious attitude problems. But nobody questioned Tyler. They never questioned him. "Don't worry, son," William said, cutting his meat. "You're smart. You'll find something better. Actually, My friend Robert needs people at his company. I'll talk to him tomorrow." Emma watched the family mobilize once again around Tyler. He was 24 years old, had already lost more jobs than Emma could count, but there was always a new opportunity being arranged by his parents. Tyler never took responsibility for anything, never reflected on what he could have done differently. After dinner, while Emma collected the dishes and started washing them, Patricia approached her in the kitchen. "Emma, dear," Patricia said, lowering her voice, "could you help your brother with some personal expenses this month? You know how it is. He'll need some time to get back into the job market." Emma stopped scrubbing the plate for a moment. She worked full-time, did freelance work at night, and was always called upon to help Tyler when he was in trouble. But for Patricia, it was natural that Emma should be the solution to her brother's problems. "Mom, I also have my own expenses," Emma responded calmly. "Maybe Tyler should look for another job more quickly, or accept something temporary." Patricia made that disapproving face that Emma knew very well. "Emma, your brother can't accept just anything. He has potential for bigger things. It's not fair to ask him to accept jobs that are below his capacity." Emma dried her hands on the towel, looking at her mother. "And what exactly is his capacity, Mom? Because for the past few years, it seems like no job is at the right level for Tyler." "Emma," Patricia scolded, "don't talk about your brother like that. He's going through a difficult time. Family needs to support each other." From the other side of the house, Emma could hear Tyler laughing loudly at something on his phone, apparently without any concern about his financial situation. She remembered when she had gotten an important promotion at work, 6 months ago. She had come home excited to share the news, but Tyler was having an existential crisis because he hadn't been called for an interview. Emma's promotion was mentioned for a few minutes, while Tyler's frustration dominated the entire night's conversation. "Okay, Mom," Emma said finally, knowing there was no point in resisting. "I can help with some things." The smile of relief on Patricia's face was immediate. "You're an angel, Emma. Tyler is so lucky to have a sister like you." Later that night, Emma was in her room when she heard laughter coming from the living room. She went downstairs and found the family gathered watching a movie, with Tyler in the center of the couch, commenting and making jokes. It was as if the morning's firing had never happened. Emma went back upstairs to her room, lay down on the bed, and stared at the ceiling. Another day being the invisible daughter, another day solving Tyler's problems, another day living for others. She wondered if it would ever be different, if someday she would have something that was truly hers. What Emma didn't know was that very soon, this routine she knew so well was about to change in a way that would transform her life forever. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Like Emma? Have you ever worked hard while seeing someone less hardworking receive all the attention? Tell us in the comments how you would handle this situation. And if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our emotional stories. Emma woke up the next day to the familiar sound of Tyler coming downstairs for breakfast. While getting ready for another day at work, she could hear the conversation in the kitchen between Tyler and Patricia about the job possibilities that William was going to explore for him. In the kitchen, Emma found the table set with a special breakfast for Tyler: scrambled eggs, bacon, and golden toast. She served herself a cup of coffee and a slice of whole wheat bread, as she always did. "Good morning," she murmured. But Tyler was absorbed in telling Patricia about how different it would be in his next job. "Emma, dear," Patricia said, turning from the stove, "could you make that carrot cake for dessert today? I think Tyler deserves something special after what he went through yesterday." Emma nodded automatically. It was always like this. When Tyler was sad, frustrated, or simply bored, the solution was for Emma to make a cake. She had grown up making sweets for the family, whenever there was a special occasion or when someone needed consoling. Since she was little, Emma discovered she had a natural talent for baking. Her hands seemed to instinctively know the right measure of each ingredient, the exact point of the batter, the perfect time in the oven. But for her family, this was never more than a domestic pastime. Emma remembered William's birthday 3 years ago. She had spent 2 entire days preparing a 3-tier cake with elaborate fondant decorations, The guests couldn't stop praising it, photographed it from every angle, and some even asked her to make cakes for their own parties. But when someone asked who had made that work of art, it was Tyler who answered, "Oh, my sister likes to play confectioner in her spare time. It's just a hobby of hers." Playing confectioner. As if all those hours of study and practice were just unimportant play. During the commute to work that morning, Emma couldn't stop thinking, did it really have to be just a hobby? She had started making cakes at 15, and over the years had perfected her techniques alone, studying recipes, experimenting with flavors, creating her own combinations. At the office, Emma tried to concentrate on her tasks, but her mind kept wandering. During lunch break, she discreetly opened some browser tabs, websites about famous bakeries, stories of people who had transformed their passion into prosperous businesses, professional baking courses. For the first time, Emma allowed herself to dream of something different. What if she could transform her talent into something more than just cakes to console Tyler? "Emma, are you okay?" asked Sarah, her coworker, noticing she was distracted. Yes, just thinking about some things," Emma replied quickly, closing the browser tabs. That night, while preparing the requested carrot cake, Emma watched her own hands working. She mixed the ingredients without needing to think, her movements fluid and precise. The sweet aroma spreading through the kitchen made her feel something she rarely experienced: pride in herself. "This cake is incredible, Emma," said William after dinner, savoring a generous slice. "You really have a gift. It's a shame it's just a hobby." Just a hobby. There was that phrase again. "Thank you, Dad." Emma smiled forcedly. "It's true," Tyler added, taking a second slice. "You make really good sweets. Must be a lot of work, right?" "Good thing you like it, because I wouldn't have the patience for it." Tyler spoke as if making cakes was something simple, something anyone could do if they had patience. He didn't understand the technique, the creativity, the knowledge Emma had developed over the years. Later that night, alone in her room, Emma opened her laptop and started researching seriously. She found inspiring stories of people who had opened their own bakeries, transforming a passion into a prosperous business. One story in particular caught her attention. A woman from Ohio who had started making cakes at home and now had 3 stores and appeared regularly on local television. "I always knew I had talent," the woman said in an interview, "but it took me years to have the courage to believe in myself." Emma felt something ignite inside her chest. Maybe it was time to believe in herself too. She found an online course in professional baking and food business management. The course cost $300, a significant amount, but Emma had saved almost $2,000 working extra in recent months. Without thinking much, she clicked "Buy Now." Her heart was beating fast while the transaction was being processed. When the message "Purchase completed successfully" appeared, Emma felt a mixture of excitement and terror. She had taken the first real step toward a dream she didn't even know she had. During the following weeks, Emma started attending the course classes at dawn when the whole family was sleeping. She learned about advanced baking techniques, different types of dough, professional decoration, and mainly about how to transform a passion into a profitable business. Each class left her more excited and determined. Emma started practicing the new techniques, making more elaborate cakes. The family continued praising, but always with the same phrases: "What an interesting hobby. You have a knack for this. It's fun to have a creative pastime." Emma smiled and thanked them, but inside a decision was crystallizing. She no longer wanted this to be just a hobby. She no longer wanted to be just the sister who made cakes when someone needed consoling. For the first time in her life, Emma had a dream that was completely hers, and she was determined to make it come true, even if no one in her family believed she was capable. What Emma still couldn't imagine was how badly her family would react when they discovered she was taking this hobby much more seriously than they could ever imagine. 3 months had passed since Emma started her secret baking course. In that time, she had absorbed knowledge like a sponge: advanced techniques, financial management, marketing for small businesses. But most importantly, she had discovered that her dream wasn't just possible, It was viable. Emma now worked 2 jobs. During the day, she continued at the administration office, and 3 times a week she worked as a freelancer doing accounting for small local businesses. Every extra dollar she earned went straight to her secret savings account, the Bakery Reserve Fund. While Emma juggled multiple jobs, Tyler continued his usual routine of waking up late, complaining about available job opportunities, and finding new excuses for his situation. "The job market is impossible," Tyler said during breakfast on a Tuesday, lazily stirring his cereal bowl. "And all the jobs that come up are for super qualified people or pay peanuts." Emma drank her coffee quickly, already late for her first job. She had stayed up until 2 in the morning studying commercial location and analyzing foot traffic in different neighborhoods of the city. "Maybe you should accept something temporary while looking for something better," Emma suggested, grabbing her purse. Tyler made a face. "Emma, I can't accept just anything. I have standards to maintain. If I accept any random job, it'll show up on my resume and could hurt future opportunities." Patricia, who was preparing special scrambled eggs for Tyler, nodded in agreement. "Emma, your brother is right. He can't subject himself to just any job. William knows important people. It's better to wait for something suitable to his potential." Emma left for work shaking her head. Tyler had been fired 4 months ago and was still waiting for something suitable. Meanwhile, she was working double to achieve her dreams, and no one in the family even noticed her effort. During lunch at the office, Emma discreetly opened her laptop and continued her secret research. She had created a detailed spreadsheet with possible commercial spaces to rent, calculated equipment costs, estimated monthly expenses, and projected potential profits. Emma discovered a small commercial space downtown with a large storefront and perfect location. The rent was expensive, but she calculated that with the foot traffic in the area, it could work very well. She wrote down the broker's number to call later. "Emma, you've been working a lot lately," commented Sarah, her colleague. "Are you doing some extra project?" Emma smiled vaguely. "Just organizing some personal things." That night, while the family was watching television in the living room, Emma went upstairs to her room and called the commercial space broker. She scheduled a visit for Saturday morning, pretending she was going to meet a friend. "The space is 50 square meters," the broker explained over the phone. "And it has a kitchen in the back that can be adapted, and the location is excellent for food commerce." Emma wrote down every detail, her heart racing with the real possibility of her dream materializing. On Saturday, Emma told the family she was going out with Stephanie and left the house with her heart in her throat. The commercial space was even better in person than in the online photos. The storefront was perfect for displaying cakes and sweets, and Emma could easily imagine the space transformed into a cozy bakery. "Many people are interested in this spot," the broker said. "It's a premium location. Do you have experience in the food business?" "Yes," Emma lied. "I've been studying a lot about baking and business management." Technically, it wasn't a lie. She had studied more in recent months than many people study in years. During the following weeks, Emma intensified her research even more. She studied the competition, visited other bakeries to analyze prices and products, and even did informal surveys with people on the street about what types of sweets they most liked to buy. Meanwhile, at home, Tyler's situation remained the same. William had managed to schedule an interview for him at his friend Robert's company, but Tyler arrived 20 minutes late because he lost track of time playing video games. "It wasn't my fault," Tyler explained to the family during dinner. "Traffic was horrible, and besides, the interview guy was super unfriendly. He kept pressuring me with difficult questions about experiences I don't have yet." "What kind of questions?" Emma asked, genuinely curious. He wanted to know specific examples of when I solved problems at work or dealt with pressure situations. How am I supposed to have examples if other bosses never gave me real opportunities?" Emma almost laughed, but held back. Tyler wanted examples of problem solving without ever having actually worked on solving problems. "Don't worry, son," Patricia consoled. "Something better will come up. You deserve a job that recognizes your potential." That night, Emma calculated that she had saved almost $5,000. It still wasn't enough for all the initial investment she would need, but she was getting close. She had calculated that she would need approximately $8,000 for the rent deposit, basic equipment, and initial inventory. Emma decided she needed to speed up the process. She started accepting more freelance work, sometimes staying up until 3 in the morning to complete projects. Her family noticed she was tired, but attributed it to normal work. "Emma, you should go out more," Patricia said one morning. "Working too much isn't good. Look at your brother. He's taking advantage of this free time to reflect on his future." Emma looked at Tyler, who was on the couch in pajamas at 11 in the morning watching cartoons, and almost burst out laughing. Reflecting on the future apparently meant sleeping late and playing video games. 2 more weeks passed, and Emma finally saved the $8,000. She had worked like crazy, sacrificed weekends, lost hours of sleep, but she had done it. Her bakery fund was complete. Emma called the broker again. The space was still available. She scheduled a second visit to sign the contract, this time bringing all the necessary documents. While preparing to take this gigantic step, Emma felt a mixture of terror and euphoria. She was about to transform her secret dreams into reality, and she had achieved everything alone without anyone's help. What Emma couldn't imagine was that very soon, her family would discover what she was planning, and their reaction would be much worse than she could have ever imagined. Have you ever had to fight alone for a dream while seeing other people constantly being helped? How did you find strength to continue when no one believed in your potential? Share your experience with us in the comments. Emma woke up that Monday with butterflies in her stomach. This was the day. After months of saving, planning, and secret dreams, she was finally going to sign the lease contract for the commercial space. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked for the 10th time that all the documents were in her purse. "Are you going to work early today?" Patricia asked, seeing Emma dressed and ready to leave at 7 in the morning. "I have some appointments to take care of before the office," Emma replied, trying to keep her voice casual. Technically, it wasn't a lie. Tyler appeared in the kitchen, still in pajamas, rubbing his eyes. "What time is it? Why is everyone awake so early?" "It's 7:30, Tyler," Emma said. "Most people have been awake for an hour already." "Oh, maybe that's why I can't get a job," Tyler joked. "I'm a night person, not a morning person. My brain only works right after 10. Emma left the house shaking her head. Tyler had an excuse for everything, even for not being able to wake up at normal hours. At the real estate office, Emma signed all the papers with her heart racing. When she received the keys to the space in her hands, she had to hold back tears right there. After all these years of being invisible, she finally had something that was completely hers. The empty space seemed even smaller than she remembered. But Emma could already visualize every detail of the future bakery. The storefront where the counter with sweets would be, the small tables where customers could sit, the cozy decoration that would make people feel at home. During lunch break, Emma returned to the space with a measuring tape and notebook. She measured every corner, noted where each piece of equipment would go, calculated how many tables would fit in the environment. It was surreal to be planning something so real and tangible after months of secret dreams. That afternoon, Emma started researching equipment suppliers. She needed an industrial oven, commercial mixer, refrigerator, freezer, and dozens of other items. The prices were high, but she had prepared for this. At home, during dinner, the conversation revolved around Tyler and his professional situation again. "I got a call today," Tyler announced dramatically. "Remember that company where I interviewed last month? They offered me the position." Patricia and William immediately got excited. "That's wonderful, son," Patricia exclaimed. "But," Tyler continued, "the salary offer is way below what I expected, and the hours are 8 to 5, every day. That doesn't match my lifestyle." Emma stopped chewing. "Tyler, you've been unemployed for 5 months. Wouldn't any offer be better than nothing?" Tyler made an offended face. "Emma, you don't understand. If I accept a low salary now, it'll set my salary range forever. It's better to wait for something that's really worth it." William nodded thoughtfully. "Tyler has a point. Sometimes it's better to wait for the right opportunity than settle for anything. Emma almost choked. Tyler was rejecting real job offers while she worked 2 jobs to achieve her dreams. And still, the family supported his decision to remain unemployed. Besides, Tyler added, I'm thinking of taking an online digital marketing course. They say it's the future of business. Maybe I should focus on that instead of accepting traditional jobs. What a great idea, Patricia said enthusiastically. You've always been innovative, Tyler. Digital marketing seems perfect for you. Emma got up to take the dishes to the kitchen, needing to get away from that conversation before she said something she'd regret. During the following weeks, Emma divided her time between both jobs and preparing the bakery. She visited the space every morning before work and every night after freelancing. She cleaned, painted, installed shelves, all by herself. Emma ordered the basic equipment, putting everything on her credit card in installments. It was an enormous financial risk, but she knew it was necessary to get started. While Emma sweated painting walls and assembling furniture, Tyler continued his new routine of studying digital marketing. This meant staying in his room watching YouTube videos about how to make money online while playing games on his phone. How's the course going? William asked during dinner on a Thursday. Very well, Tyler replied. I'm learning about all the digital market trends, Instagram, TikTok, influencers. It's fascinating how people make money nowadays. Emma almost laughed. Tyler watching random YouTube videos wasn't exactly studying digital marketing, but the family believed every word he said. Maybe you could help Emma with something, Patricia suggested innocently. She's been very busy lately. I don't know exactly with what, but she leaves early and comes home late almost every day. Emma felt her heart race. She wasn't ready to reveal her project yet. She needed the bakery to be closer to reality before telling the family. I'm just doing some extra work, Emma said vaguely. Nothing very important. 2 weeks later, Emma finally received the equipment. Seeing the industrial oven being installed in her kitchen was one of the most exciting moments of her life. Her bakery was taking real shape. Emma started testing recipes on the new equipment, adjusting quantities for commercial proportions. She made test cakes and sweets during the early morning hours, perfecting every detail. The decoration was also progressing. Emma had chosen soft and cozy colors, with some vintage touches that gave personality to the environment. She installed a small bell on the door that rang whenever someone entered, creating a welcoming atmosphere. Throughout this entire process, Tyler continued with his routine of waking up late, studying digital marketing, and complaining about the few job opportunities that came up. I'm thinking of creating my own online business, Tyler announced one night. With everything I've learned about digital marketing, I think I can sell courses teaching other people. What kind of courses? Emma asked, genuinely curious. I'm still deciding, Tyler replied vaguely. Maybe about how to succeed in life, or how to find your passion. That kind of thing everyone wants to learn. Emma looked at Tyler, who had never succeeded at anything and clearly hadn't found his own passion, talking about teaching other people to do exactly that. The irony was almost comical. While Tyler vaguely planned his non-existent business, Emma was putting the finishing touches on her real dream. She had painted a beautiful sign with the bakery's name, installed the refrigerated display case, and tested all the equipment. Emma looked around the almost ready space and felt a wave of pride and terror at the same time. In a few weeks, she would be ready to officially open. It would be time to tell the family about her secret project. What Emma couldn't imagine was how her family would react when they discovered she had built a real business while they were busy supporting Tyler's fantasized plans. Emma woke up at 5 a.m. on the most important day of her life. It was Saturday, June 15th, the official opening day of her bakery. She had chosen this date carefully, a sunny Saturday when more people would be free to come and celebrate with her. 2 weeks before, Emma had finally told her family about her project. The initial reaction was total surprise. Patricia was speechless, William seemed confused, and Tyler asked several questions about how she had gotten money for all of that. I worked hard and saved, Emma had explained, trying to contain her anxiety. I want you all to come to the opening. I prepared special invitations for the whole family. The invitations had been handmade, with special paper and a photo of the bakery. Emma had personally written on each one, "You are invited to celebrate the biggest dream of my life coming true. Your presence will be the best gift I could receive." "Of course we'll be there, dear," Patricia had said, hugging Emma. "We're so proud of you." "It's incredible what you managed to do alone," William had added. "I can't wait to see the place." Even Tyler had shown interest. "It looks like you really thought of everything. I'll be there to support my sister." Now, on the morning of the opening, Emma dressed with special care. She chose a light blue dress that always made her feel confident, put her hair up in an elegant bun, and put on the bakery apron she had made with her name embroidered on it. Emma arrived at the location at 6:30 in the morning. She wanted everything to be perfect when the doors opened at 10 o'clock. She checked every detail. The display case was impeccable with cakes and sweets arranged artistically. The tables were set with small flower vases, and the sweet aroma of cinnamon and vanilla filled the air. At 8 o'clock, Emma called Patricia to confirm that everyone would come. "Of course, dear," Patricia said, but her voice seemed distracted. "We're just finishing getting ready here. See you soon." Emma smiled, feeling calmer. She continued the final preparations, organizing the products, testing the coffee machine, and putting on a soft jazz playlist to create the perfect atmosphere. At 9:30, half an hour before the official opening, Emma called home again. No one answered. She tried Patricia's cell phone, then William's, then Tyler's. All went straight to voicemail. "They must be on their way," Emma murmured to herself, trying to control the anxiety that was starting to grow in her chest. 10 o'clock arrived. Emma turned the sign on the door from "closed" to "open" and waited. 15 minutes later, her first customers entered, an elderly couple who had walked by the sidewalk and been curious about the colorful storefront. "What a charming place," the lady said, looking around with admiration. "Did you make all these sweets?" "Yes," Emma smiled, trying to hide the disappointment that her first customers weren't her family. "It's my first day in business." "Congratulations," the gentleman said. "We'll try a little bit of everything then. Nothing better than supporting a new local business." Emma served the couple lovingly, but her eyes kept going to the door, expecting to see the familiar faces of her family walking in at any moment. 11 o'clock. Noon. 1 in the afternoon. Emma continued checking her phone obsessively, but there were no messages or missed calls. More customers had entered, curious neighbors, people passing by on the street, even a local journalist who had heard about the new bakery and wanted to do a small story. "Where's your family?" asked Stephanie, her friend who had shown up to support her. "I thought they were coming to the opening." "They must be running late," Emma said, but her voice no longer carried conviction. At 2 in the afternoon, Emma finally managed to talk to Patricia. "Mom, where are you all? The opening started at 10. "Oh, Emma, dear," Patricia said, and Emma immediately noticed something evasive in her voice. A last-minute situation came up with Tyler. William managed to schedule an urgent meeting with Robert, that friend of his from the big company. It was the only opportunity Tyler would have to meet him personally. Emma felt as if someone had poured ice water over her. "But Mom, it's the opening of my bakery. You promised to be here." "I know, dear, and we're so sorry. But you understand, right? This opportunity could change Tyler's life. It's an executive position with excellent salary. We couldn't let it pass." Emma closed her eyes, trying to control the tears that threatened to fall. "And couldn't you have gone to meet Robert after the opening? The meeting was scheduled for noon, and you know how these things are. We needed to have lunch with him, talk, make a good impression. Tyler was so nervous that we thought it best to arrive early to calm him down." "And what happened at the meeting?" Emma asked, although she already knew the answer from the tone in her mother's voice. Patricia sighed. "Unfortunately, Robert said Tyler doesn't have the necessary qualifications for the position yet. But he was very polite and said Tyler can try again in the future when he has more experience. Of course, Tyler had lost another opportunity due to lack of qualifications, and Emma had lost her family's support on the most important day of her life because of something that didn't even work out. "We're heading home now," Patricia continued. "How about if we stop by quickly to see the place?" Emma looked around the almost empty bakery, the special day she had planned for months already coming to an end. "You don't need to, Mom." "It's getting late already." When Emma hung up the phone, she finally allowed the tears to fall. Stephanie hugged her while she cried silently. "They chose Tyler once again," Emma whispered. "Even knowing that today was important to me, they chose to chase after another dead-end opportunity for him." Emma spent the rest of the day serving the few customers who showed up, forcing smiles and thanking compliments, but with a broken heart. She had worked for months for this moment, had saved every penny, had built everything alone, and in the end, she was celebrating her greatest achievement practically alone. When she closed the doors at 7 at night, Emma looked around her bakery and felt a strange mixture of pride and sadness. She had done it. Despite everything, she had achieved her dream, but the bitter taste of family rejection made the victory feel half empty. What Emma didn't know was that this would be just the first of many disappointments her family would still cause her, and that very soon they would do something that would hurt her even more deeply. Have you ever accomplished something important and the people you loved most weren't there to celebrate with you? How did you deal with that pain of being left aside in your special moment? Tell us in the comments, because sometimes we need to know we're not alone in these difficult experiences. Emma arrived home at 8 at night, physically and emotionally exhausted. The first day of the bakery had been a commercial success. She had sold most of the products and received several compliments from customers. But the family's absence transformed what should have been the happiest day of her life into a bitter mixture of achievement and rejection. The house was quiet when Emma entered. Tyler was in his room, probably playing video games or watching videos, as he always did when frustrated. Emma could hear the muffled sound coming from upstairs. Patricia and William were in the living room, watching television in silence. When Emma entered, Patricia briefly looked up and gave a forced, half-smile. "Hi, dear. How was your day?" Patricia asked, but her tone was strange, different from usual. It didn't have the genuine curiosity or enthusiasm Emma would expect after the first day of the bakery's operation. "It went well," Emma replied simply, feeling it wasn't the moment to go into details. The atmosphere in the house was heavy, loaded with something she couldn't identify. "That's good," William murmured, without taking his eyes off the television. Emma went upstairs to her room, took a long shower, and threw herself on the bed. She was mentally reviewing the day's events when her phone vibrated with a message. It was from Patricia. "Daughter, I need to talk to you about this bakery. Let's talk tomorrow." Emma read the message 3 times, feeling a chill in her stomach. The tone was dry, formal, nothing like the loving messages Patricia normally sent. There was no "good night," no "congratulations on your first day," not even an emoji. Just a cold summons for a conversation that clearly wouldn't be pleasant. Emma typed and deleted several responses. "Okay, Mom, good night." Then she deleted it and wrote, "Is everything okay? Can we talk now?" She deleted it again and finally sent just, "Okay." Patricia's response came immediately, "Sleep well." Emma stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Her mind started working, trying to understand what was happening. Why was her mother acting so strangely? What was wrong with opening a bakery? Emma had used her own money, had worked hard, had achieved a dream. Why would this be a problem? As the hours passed in the early morning, Emma began to remember other moments in her life when she had felt this same sensation of anxiety regarding her family. The feeling that no matter what she did, there was always something wrong. She remembered when she was 15, when she had won an award for best student in her class. Emma came home excited to share the news, but found Patricia consoling Tyler, who had gotten bad grades in several subjects. "It's not time for celebrations, Emma," Patricia had said. "Tyler needs our support now." She remembered when she was 18, when she had been accepted to college with a partial scholarship. Instead of celebrating, the conversation at the dinner table was about how the family would help pay for the part the scholarship didn't cover, because Tyler also wanted to go to college the following year, and it wouldn't be fair if only Emma had higher education. Emma remembered her first job at 22. She had gotten a junior position at a good company, but when she came home to tell them, Tyler was going through an existential crisis about his professional future. Emma ended up spending the night listening to Tyler talk about his uncertainties, while her achievement was only mentioned in passing. There was also her relationship with Michael, 3 years ago. Emma was happy, in love, and Michael had talked about marriage. But when she brought Michael to meet the family, Tyler monopolized the conversation talking about his own romantic problems. Michael left Emma's parents' house confused, saying he felt like he was just an audience for Tyler's drama. The relationship didn't last long after that. Emma realized a pattern she had ignored for years. Whenever something good happened in her life, whenever she stood out or achieved something important, there was some crisis of Tyler's that needed immediate attention, and the family always prioritized his problems over her achievements. She also remembered how Tyler always managed to turn any situation into something about him. When Emma had bought her first car, Tyler spent weeks talking about how he also needed transportation, and how it wasn't fair for only one daughter to have a car. When Emma had been promoted at work, Tyler started a saga about how he was being discriminated against in the job market. And now, on the day of the bakery's opening, the family had chosen another dead-end opportunity for Tyler over the most important moment of Emma's life. Emma turned in bed, feeling tears of frustration burn her eyes. She had always been the easy daughter, the one who didn't cause trouble, who solved her own problems, who didn't ask for help. And somehow, this had transformed into being the invisible daughter, the one whose achievements were less important than Tyler's problems. Now Patricia wanted to talk about the bakery. Emma could imagine what was coming. Probably some criticism about her not consulting the family before making such a big decision. Or maybe concerns about whether she really had the capacity to run a business alone. Or worse yet, some suggestion about how Tyler could help with the bakery. Emma felt a mixture of anger and sadness growing in her chest. For the first time in her life, she had done something completely on her own, had proven she was capable of much more than the family imagined. And even so, somehow, this was being seen as a problem. She looked at the clock, 3 a.m. In a few hours, she would have to face whatever conversation Patricia had planned. Emma knew, deep in her heart, that it wouldn't be a conversation to congratulate her on her achievement. It was funny how, even having just realized her biggest dream, Emma felt more alone than ever. She had built something beautiful, something that was completely hers, but family rejection made everything bitter. Emma finally fell asleep almost at dawn, with a bad feeling about what the next day would bring. She had no idea that the conversation Patricia had planned would be much worse than anything she could imagine. Emma woke up on Sunday with a knot in her stomach. She had slept only a few hours, and Patricia's message from the night before kept echoing in her mind. During breakfast, the tension in the house was palpable. Patricia maintained a forced smile. William read the newspaper in silence, and Tyler seemed quieter than usual. "Emma," Patricia said, placing the coffee cup on the table with more force than necessary, "how about we sit in the living room after breakfast to talk?" "Sure, Mom," Emma replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Tyler looked up from his phone for the first time that morning. Can I join the conversation? I mean, if it's about business, maybe I can help with some ideas." Emma felt a stab of irritation. Of course Tyler wanted to participate. He never missed an opportunity to insert himself into any situation. "Actually," William said, closing the newspaper, "I think it would be good for all of us to talk together. It's a decision that affects the whole family." Emma stopped chewing. "Affects the whole family? How so?" "Let's leave it for the living room conversation," Patricia said quickly. 15 minutes later, Emma found herself sitting on the couch with the 3 family members arranged in front of her as if it were a tribunal. Patricia sat in the main armchair, William beside her, and Tyler settled on the opposite couch, assuming a strangely formal posture. "Emma," Patricia began, with that tone she used when she was about to scold someone, "we were talking last night about this bakery situation." "Situation?" Emma repeated. "Mom, I opened a business. It's an achievement, not a situation." William shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Emma, dear, no one is diminishing what you did. But we have some concerns." "What kind of concerns?" Patricia sighed dramatically. "Well, to start with, did you think carefully before making such a big decision? Opening a business isn't child's play, Emma. It's an enormous responsibility." Emma felt anger beginning to boil. "Mom, I planned this for months. I took courses, studied the market, saved money working 2 jobs. Of course I thought it through." "But you did all this alone," Tyler interrupted, leaning forward. "You should have consulted the family." "Especially me, since I understand business." Emma looked at Tyler as if he had gone insane. "Tyler, you understand business. You were fired from every job you've had and never managed to keep a position for more than 8 months. "Emma!" Patricia scolded. "Don't talk to your brother like that. Tyler has studied a lot about entrepreneurship and digital marketing. He has knowledge that could have helped you." "Exactly," Tyler agreed, assuming an air of authority that Emma found ridiculous. "I could have guided you on market strategies, brand positioning, competitive analysis, things you probably didn't think about." Emma was speechless. Tyler, who had spent recent months watching random videos on the internet, was presenting himself as a business expert. "On Tyler," Emma said slowly, "you rejected a real job offer last week because the schedule didn't match your lifestyle. How can you give me business advice?" William cleared his throat. "Emma, what we're trying to say is that maybe you were a bit impulsive. Business is complicated, especially for women alone." "Especially for women alone," Emma repeated, not believing what she was hearing. "Don't misunderstand me," William continued quickly. "You're intelligent and capable, but the business world is tough. Maybe you need some male supervision, someone who understands these things better." Emma felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. "Male supervision, Dad, I created a business from scratch, alone, and I'm already selling products and receiving customers. What exactly do I need to supervise?" Patricia leaned forward. "Emma, dear, no one is questioning your ability to make cakes. You're very talented at that. But managing a business is different. It's about numbers, strategies, complex decision-making." "And you think I don't know how to handle numbers?" Emma asked, incredulously. "Mom, I've worked with accounting for years. I do financial administration freelancing. I literally work with numbers all day long." Tyler shook his head condescendingly. "On Emma, it's not just about basic math. It's about business vision, strategic thinking, leadership. These are skills that develop with experience in the corporate market." Emma looked at Tyler, the same Tyler who had never led anything beyond a video game match, talking about leadership and business vision. "And where exactly did you acquire this corporate market experience, Tyler?" Emma asked. Tyler turned red. I studied a lot about it. And besides, men naturally have more facility for these strategic things. Men naturally have more facility." Emma stood up, no longer able to remain seated. "Tyler, you can't even get up before 10 in the morning. How can you have natural facility for anything work-related?" "Emma, sit down," Patricia ordered. "There's no need for personal attacks." "Personal attacks?" Emma shouted. "You're questioning my ability to manage a business that I created, I financed, and I'm successfully running, and I'm the one making personal attacks." William tried to assume a conciliatory tone. "Emma, we're just worried about you. Businesses fail all the time. You invested a lot of money in this. What if it goes wrong? What if it goes right?" Emma shot back. "Have you thought about that possibility? That maybe I'm capable of succeeding alone?" Patricia sighed again. "Of course we're rooting for your success, dear, but we think it would be prudent to have someone with more experience guiding you." Tyler could what?" Emma interrupted. "Teach me how to get fired professionally, how to reject job offers, how to live off parents until 30. "Enough," Patricia stood up. "You're being cruel and disrespectful to your family. We just want to help you." "Help?" Emma laughed bitterly. "Where was this help when I was working 2 jobs to save money? Where was this concern when I was renovating the space alone? You only show up now to question what I've achieved." Emma looked at the 3 faces in front of her and saw something that made her feel nauseous. They really believed she wasn't capable. They really thought Tyler, with all his history of failures, was more qualified to guide her than she was to manage her own business. "You know what's saddest about all this?" Emma said, her voice getting lower but more intense. "I spent my entire life trying to earn your respect. And now, when I finally managed to do something important, you prefer to believe that Tyler, who never achieved anything in life, is better prepared to help me than I am prepared to do everything alone." The silence that followed was deafening. Have you ever felt that your own family doesn't believe in your potential? What's it like dealing with people who prefer to bet on the usual failure instead of celebrating success? Share in the comments, because this pain of not having recognition from those we love most is something many people have experienced. The silence in the room lasted only a few seconds, but to Emma it seemed like an eternity. She could see on her family's faces that her words had caused impact, but not the kind of impact she expected. Instead of reflection or regret, Emma saw something worse: determination. Patricia was the first to compose herself. She sat down again, smoothed her skirt, and assumed that expression Emma knew well, the face her mother made when she was about to make a decision for everyone's good. "Emma," Patricia said, her voice taking on a falsely calm tone, "I think you need to sit down and listen to what we have to say more calmly. We talked a lot about this last night, and we came to a conclusion that could solve all the problems." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of conclusion?" William cleared his throat and leaned forward. "Emma, we all recognize your talent for baking. No one here is questioning that. Your cakes are truly exceptional." "But," Tyler interrupted, and Emma noticed how he seemed more confident now, as if he had rehearsed this speech. "Talent for cooking and talent for managing are completely different things." Emma crossed her arms. "Get to the point." Patricia took a deep breath. "The proposal is as follows. You would continue being responsible for the creative part of the bakery. You'd make all the sweets, take care of the recipes, the quality of the products. That's your area of expertise." "And?" Emma asked, although she already knew where this was going. "And Tyler would take over the business management," William completed. "He would handle the administrative part, marketing, sales, strategic decisions, the parts that require more business experience." Emma remained silent for a few seconds, processing what she had just heard. They were really suggesting that she hand over the administration of the bakery she had created from scratch to Tyler, who had never been able to keep a job. "Are you serious?" Emma asked, her voice coming out lower than she intended. Tyler visibly perked up. "Emma, think about it. You do the part you love most, creating the sweets, and I take care of all the boring administrative stuff. It would be perfect." "The boring stuff," Emma repeated. "Tyler, the boring stuff includes deciding prices, controlling inventory, managing employees, dealing with suppliers, doing financial planning. Do you really think you're qualified for that?" "More qualified than you," Tyler replied with a confidence that left Emma speechless. Patricia nodded in agreement. "Emma, dear, Tyler has studied a lot about entrepreneurship. He understands marketing, social media, all these modern things that are essential for businesses nowadays." Emma looked at Tyler. "Watching videos on the internet isn't studying entrepreneurship, Tyler. They're not just videos," Tyler defended himself. "I've been following online courses, podcasts. I've read several articles about business management. I really prepared for this." "Prepared for this?" Emma stood up again. "Tyler, you prepared to take control of my bakery." William tried to intervene. "Emma, don't see it that way. See it as a family partnership. You two would work together. A partnership where I do the manual labor and Tyler makes the important decisions," Emma said bitterly. "It's not manual labor," Patricia protested. It's your passion. You love making sweets. Why not let Tyler take care of the parts you don't like? Emma felt a rage she had never experienced before. Who said I don't like the administrative part? Mom, I literally work in administration. I love taking care of numbers, planning, strategy. Tyler shook his head condescendingly. Emma, you may like it, but that doesn't mean you're good at it. Managing a business is much more complex than doing accounting for other people. And you know this based on what experience exactly? Emma shouted. Based on the fact that I'm a man and have a more analytical mind, Tyler replied. And Emma realized he really believed what he was saying. Patricia stood up and positioned herself between Emma and Tyler. Enough fighting. Emma, be reasonable. Tyler needs an opportunity to show what he's capable of, and you need help managing your business. It's a perfect solution. Tyler needs an opportunity? Emma repeated incredulously. What about me? Don't I deserve the opportunity to manage the business I created? You already had your opportunity, William said calmly. You created the bakery, proved you can make excellent sweets. Now it's time to be smart and accept help to make the business really prosper. Emma looked at the three faces in front of her and saw something that made her feel nauseous. They really believed they were being generous. They really thought they were doing her a favor. Let me understand, Emma said slowly. You want me to hand over control of the bakery that I planned, financed, built, and opened to Tyler, who was fired from every job he's had because you think he's better prepared to manage it than I am. When you put it that way, it sounds bad, Tyler said. But think about the benefits. You could focus entirely on the creative part, without worrying about management responsibilities. Emma laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. And on how much of the profit would I get in this partnership? The three exchanged uncomfortable looks. Well, Patricia began hesitantly, that would be something for you two to decide together. Along with Tyler making the important decisions, right? Emma completed. Tyler assumed an expression he probably thought looked professional. Emma, in any business, someone needs to be the leader. And considering my experience in business strategy. What experience? Emma exploded. Tyler, you've never succeeded at anything. You never finished a project, never kept a commitment, never took responsibility for anything. And you want me to hand over my bakery to him? The silence that followed was different from the previous ones. It was loaded with a tension Emma had never felt in the family. Patricia finally spoke, her voice cold. Emma, you're being selfish. This is an opportunity for Tyler to finally find his path in life, and you're refusing to help your own brother. Emma felt as if she had been punched. I'm being selfish for wanting to keep control of the business I created? Yes, William said firmly. Family helps family, and Tyler is your brother. Emma looked at each of them and finally understood the situation with total clarity. To them, it didn't matter what she had achieved. It didn't matter how much work it had cost, how much sacrifice, how much dedication. In the end, Tyler would always be more important. Tyler would always deserve more. Tyler would always have priority. And for the first time in her life, Emma knew exactly what she needed to do. Emma remained silent for almost a full minute. During those 60 seconds, she looked at each face in front of her. Patricia with her expression of false maternal concern, William with his patriarchal air of authority, and Tyler with that smug smile of someone who was already imagining himself as the owner of a prosperous bakery. When Emma finally spoke, her voice was different. It was no longer the voice of the submissive daughter, the compliant sister, the woman who always gave in to keep the peace. It was the voice of someone who had reached the absolute limit. No. The word came out simple, clear, definitive. Patricia blinked, confused. What do you mean, no? No, Emma repeated, this time louder. I said no, no. I will not hand over my bakery to Tyler. I will not accept being demoted to an employee in the business I created, and I will no longer pretend this is a reasonable conversation. Tyler leaned forward. Boo, Emma, you're being dramatic. Shut up, Emma shouted, and the volume of her voice made everyone jump. For God's sake, Tyler, Shut up and let me speak." The silence that followed was absolute. Emma had never shouted at anyone in the family. She had never lost control like this. "I am 26 years old," Emma began, her voice trembling with contained rage, "and I spent 26 years being invisible in this house. 26 years watching you mobilize to solve every little problem of Tyler's, while I solved mine alone." Patricia opened her mouth to protest, but Emma raised her hand. "No. Now you're going to listen to me. You lost the right to speak when you decided Tyler deserved to manage the business that I built." Emma started pacing around the room, her nervous energy needing movement. "You want to talk about family? Then let's talk about family. Where was this family concern when Tyler was fired for the 3rd time this year and I had to help with his bills? Where was this family unity when I was working 2 jobs to achieve my dream?" William tried to intervene. "Emma, we always supported you." "Supported?" Emma laughed bitterly. "Dad, you didn't even show up to my bakery's opening because you were busy taking Tyler to another job interview he didn't get." Emma stopped in front of Tyler, looking directly into his eyes. "And you, Tyler, you who never managed to keep a job for more than 8 months, who lives at your parents' house at 24 years old, who invented more excuses for failures than I can count. You think you're qualified to teach me about business?" Tyler turned red. "Emma, I studied a lot about—" "You watched videos on the internet," Emma exploded. "You stayed in your room playing video games while I painted walls, installed equipment, and built something real." Emma turned to Patricia. "And you, Mom, you who always told me to be the responsible daughter, to help Tyler, to be understanding. Where was your understanding when I needed support? Where was your concern when I was sacrificing weekends and early mornings to build my future?" Patricia was pale. "Emma, You always what? Treated me as second choice? Made me feel that my achievements were less important than his problems?" Emma gestured toward Tyler. "You know what's most pathetic about all this? I created a prosperous business, alone, without anyone's help. And instead of being proud, you want to hand it over to Tyler as if it were a consolation prize for another failure in his life." William stood up. "Emma, enough. You're being cruel." "I'm being cruel," Emma shouted. "Dad, you're asking me to hand over the business of my life to someone who never achieved anything alone, and I'm the one being cruel." Emma took a deep breath, trying to compose herself, but the rage continued burning. "You want to know the truth? The truth is, you're afraid. You're afraid that I'm more capable than Tyler. You're afraid to admit that the good daughter is more successful than the favorite son." Tyler stood up abruptly. "That's not true. I have a lot of potential. I just haven't had the right opportunities yet." Emma looked at him with a mixture of pity and contempt. "Tyler, you had all the opportunities. They paid for your entire college while I had to work to pay for mine. They arranged interviews for you while I looked for jobs alone. They funded your professional experiments while I built my career from scratch." Emma turned to the whole family. "And you know what else? I don't need your approval anymore. For years, I thought there was something wrong with me because I was never the priority. I thought that if I worked harder, if I was more useful, if I caused fewer problems, you would finally see me." Tears began to run down Emma's face, but her voice remained firm. "But it's not about me. It never was. You chose Tyler a long time ago, and nothing I do will change that. The difference is that now I don't care anymore." Patricia was crying. "Emma, you're saying terrible things. We love you both equally." "No," Emma shouted. "You don't love equally. If you did, you'd be celebrating my achievement, not trying to hand it over to Tyler." Emma grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" William asked. Emma turned one last time. "I'm going to my bakery to take care of my business, and if any of you show up there trying to help Tyler take over anything, I'll call the police." Emma looked at Tyler one last time. "You and Tyler, you can forget any idea of partnership. You lost the opportunity to be part of this the moment you thought you deserved to control what I built." With that, Emma left the house, slamming the door so hard that the pictures on the wall shook. For the first time in her life, Emma had put herself first, and by the expression of absolute shock on her family's faces. They finally understood they had lost control over her. Have you ever had to choose between keeping family peace and defending your own dreams? Have you ever felt you needed to be firmer with your family? How did you find the courage to finally say no? Share with us in the comments your experience of putting yourself first. 6 months had passed since that devastating day when Emma had left the family home for the last time. After the confrontation, she had rented a small apartment near the bakery and built a completely independent life. Now, Emma was in her bakery's kitchen at 5 in the morning, as she did every day, preparing the fresh cakes and sweets that had become famous in the city. But now there was something different in the air. Not just the aroma of cinnamon and chocolate, but the sweet smell of absolute success. The bakery had transformed into much more than Emma had ever dreamed. There was a line at the door every morning, regular customers who came specifically for her unique products, and orders booked weeks in advance. Emma had hired 2 employees to help with service, and they still could barely keep up with demand. That special December morning, Emma was particularly excited. On the desk in the back office of the bakery, there was a pile of clippings from local newspapers and magazines. Headlines like "The Baker Who Conquered the City," "Small Business, Big Success," and "Emma's Bakery, the region's new sweet spot," decorated the pages of her notebook that she kept with pride. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. "Emma's Bakery. Good morning," she answered cheerfully. "Miss Emma? This is Jennifer from WTLV News. We'd like to know if you'd be available for a live interview on tomorrow morning's show. We're doing a story about successful local entrepreneurs." Emma almost dropped the bowl of batter she was holding. Television. They wanted to interview her on television. "Of course," she replied, trying to keep her voice professional. "It would be an honor." After she hung up, Emma allowed herself a moment of pure joy. 6 months ago, she was being questioned by her own family about her ability to manage a business. Now, local media recognized her as a standout entrepreneur. During those months, Emma had learned much more than just how to manage a thriving bakery. She had learned to trust herself completely. Every difficult decision, every problem solved, every successful strategy had proven to herself that she had always been more capable than anyone in her family imagined. The doorbell rang, and Emma came out of the kitchen to see who it was. Her heart almost stopped. Patricia was standing at the door, nervously looking around the busy bakery. "Mom," Emma said, her voice neutral. "What are you doing here?" Patricia smiled hesitantly. "Hi, dear, I wanted to see the place properly and talk to you." Emma crossed her arms. During those 6 months, Patricia had sent some messages trying to reconcile the family, but Emma had responded politely but distantly. There was no anger, just an indifference that probably hurt more than any shouting. "Everything looks beautiful here, Emma," Patricia continued, looking at the full display cases, the tables occupied by satisfied customers, and the walls decorated with newspaper articles about the bakery's success. I was wrong. About everything." Emma didn't respond, just waited. "We saw you in the local magazine last week," Patricia continued. "And your father heard on the radio that you're going to appear on television. We're very proud." "Now you're proud," Emma said calmly. "Interesting how pride appears after public recognition." Patricia lowered her eyes. "Emma, I know we did everything wrong. Tyler recognizes that too. He wanted to come talk to you, but—" "How is Tyler?" Emma asked, and Patricia noticed there was no malice in the question, just genuine curiosity. He's still looking for work. It's been difficult for him." Patricia hesitated. "I think seeing your success made him realize some things about himself." Emma nodded. "And what do you expect from this conversation, Mom?" We were hoping you could forgive us, that we could be a family again." Emma looked at her mother, really looked, perhaps for the first time in years. She saw an older, tired woman who was finally facing the consequences of decades of favoritism. And Emma felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, no joy, just serene indifference. "Mom," Emma said gently, "I already forgave you. I forgave because holding on to that resentment was hurting me, not you. But forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to how they were before." Patricia looked hopeful. "So you want to try to rebuild our relationship?" "I don't need your approval anymore," Emma said with a simplicity that was like a punch to Patricia. "During 6 months, I built a life where I'm valued, respected, and recognized for my work. I have customers who admire me, employees who respect me, and a community that celebrates my achievements." Emma gestured around the busy bakery. "You can be part of this life, but only if you can treat me like the successful and independent person I've become, not like the daughter who always needed to be corrected or supervised." Patricia nodded quickly. Of course. "And Tyler?" Emma asked. "Does he accept that I'm more successful than him?" Patricia hesitated, and that hesitation said everything. Emma smiled, but it wasn't a bitter smile. It was the smile of someone who finally understood their own worth. When Tyler can deal with the fact that his older sister built something he never could, and when you can see me as Emma, the successful businesswoman, not just as the daughter who should help Tyler, then we can talk about rebuilding our relationship. At that moment, a reporter entered the bakery with a camera, preparing for the pre-interview for the television program. "Excuse me," the reporter said. "Are you Emma, the owner? I'm from WTLV. We're here for the pre-production of the story about your business success." Emma turned to the reporter with a radiant smile. "Of course, it'll be a pleasure to talk about the bakery." Patricia watched as Emma spoke professionally with the television crew, seeing for the first time the daughter she had underestimated for so many years. Emma was no longer the invisible girl who made cakes to console Tyler. She was a confident, successful woman who had built something extraordinary alone. When the television crew left, Patricia was still there, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Emma," she whispered, "for not seeing who you really were." Emma kissed her mother's cheek gently. "I know, Mom. And when you're ready to meet who I've become, instead of trying to turn me into who you thought I should be, I'll be here." As Patricia left the bakery, Emma returned to her kitchen, to her world that she had built with her own hands. She had finally found what she had always sought, not her family's approval, but her own approval, and that was infinitely more valuable. And so, Emma achieved something that many people never do. She transformed the pain of family rejection into fuel for her greatest triumph. The invisible girl who always lived in the shadow of her younger brother became a respected, recognized, and admired businesswoman throughout the community. Emma's story teaches us a profound lesson about self-worth and determination. She discovered that we don't need approval from others, not even from our own family, to be successful and happy. Sometimes, the people we love most are the ones who limit us the most, not out of malice, but because they can't see our true potential. Emma could have stayed lamenting when Tyler was fired for the 4th time and the family mobilized to help him once again. She could have accepted being always the second choice, always the daughter who solves problems but never receives recognition. She could have handed over her bakery to Tyler when the family suggested he was better prepared to manage it. But Emma chose something different. She chose to believe in herself when no one else believed. She chose to fight for her dreams even when it meant confronting the people she loved most. And most importantly, she chose not to give up what she had achieved with so much work and dedication. Emma's grand finale didn't happen by luck or chance. It happened because she had the courage to say no when it was easier to say yes. She had the courage to be seen as selfish for defending her own interests. She had the courage to break with toxic family patterns that kept her small. Today, when Emma wakes up in her own apartment and goes to her own thriving bakery, she knows she built something no one can take away from her. Not because she was lucky, but because she worked for it. Not because someone gave her an opportunity, but because she created her own opportunities. The moral of this story is powerful. You don't have to remain in the role your family or society chose for you. You can rewrite your own narrative. You can emerge from invisibility and shine with your own light. But this requires courage to disappoint people who prefer you small, and strength to believe in your potential when no one else believes. Emma shows us that sometimes the greatest act of self-love is choosing yourself, even when it hurts people we love, and that true success isn't being approved by others, but approving of yourself. Now tell me, have you ever had to choose between pleasing your family and following your dreams? Have you ever felt you were being limited by others? Expectations. What situation in your life needs more courage to say no? And most importantly, what will you do differently after hearing Emma's story? Share with us in the comments your experience or which lesson from this story touched your heart most. And if this story inspired you in some way, don't forget to give this video a like to help more people find this message. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our emotional stories that can transform your perspective on life. Because just like Emma, you also deserve to shine with your own light.